And welcome to Talkin the Gridiron here, off-season edition. We got Jimmy Pilato, far end of the bench. They've been busy this off-season with your Avalanche. And with your off-season in terms of football, I should say.
Yes.
You've been staying busy with football, with hockey and basketball there. Glad we'd be able to do a show here. Post-draft, we did the live draft show. That was a lot of fun. That was one of our better shows, I thought, doing that one. Live reacting to the draft, kind of the interaction we had there. So anybody here on Variety Sports Network, be sure to tune in, check in, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jimmy Pilato, sometimes in the off season, there's always there's not much to talk about. It's the NFL. There's always at least something to get into. We'll get into the schedule release. But first, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, it's I'm glad that I'm a teacher and I'm about ready to stop having to deal with 1.5 million fires on a daily basis. I'm done. No more kids on Thursday. Last day for me is Friday, so I'm ready for that. We were talking, I've told it on my show, but there's been some stuff at the end of the school year that, really doesn't, it makes it hard to get up and go back to it every day, but you still do. So, I'm good. I'm ready to talk up some schedule release because the NFL decided that they need to be, the NFL is like that. The NFL is like a few of my students that are trying to be a little bit too. They want too much attention. They don't need that.
Are you a schedule release guy then?
No, of course not. This is dumb.
Ridiculous.
This is so dumb. There's actual sports being played, and we want to talk about there's legitimate football being played. We want to talk about where the Chiefs and the Ravens. Look, we leaked it to you guys. You guys could have known about it beforehand.
Well, I'm going to have some of the games at the bottom. If we want to bring them up, we can, because I think me and you were on the same page about this. I guess my big thought, and we're NFL guys, so obviously we do the shows for 2 straight years now, so we don't have to prove anybody at that point. My point is there's no point in wasting too much energy saying you know what? I feel like the Raiders off that Chiefs bye right there, they're gonna beat the Chiefs there. That's the type of breakdown I'm not really into on these NFL. There are certain games all right, we got the Chiefs. I'm gonna have some of that stuff at the bottom. We got Chiefs and Bengals in week 2. That's gonna be an exciting game. I'm glad we get that that kind of stuff. I like early Jets, Niners, primetime stuff. I'm interested in that kind of stuff where we lie in that. But outside the primetime games, I'm with you on that. But are you any involved? For me, the prime times matter a little bit because I'm I don't want to waste my time with these terrible games if it looks like it's bad. That's where I guess I'm at with it.
I feel like right now I'm more interested as to what the actual players are doing. So listening to the coaches after the first few days of rookie minicamp, and some coaches, I don't know if it's because he's young and doesn't know what he's doing, but it feels like Gerard Mayo probably stepped in it a little bit with what he was saying about his quarterback. Sean Payton was talking about Bo Nix. That's what's exciting to talk about. That's what I feel like the NFL content calendar is actually all about. The schedule release is just to catch, and it was proven this year, it's just to catch everybody else who doesn't really know what's going on. That's why they had all the different ways, like the Sims release for the Chargers and the NFL Street release for the Falcons. It's for the casual non-football fan. Everybody who watches football, you could just throw it up, a picture of it on the screen, and not have any music or anything behind it. You can leave that up for 4 hours, and you will have men all across America in their man caves just standing next to their TV win, loss, win, loss. That's all you have to do. You don't have to make it a whole big production. You don't need to pay $3.5 billion for CGI. I'm sure that Atlanta one cost a pretty penny, but that's all you need. You just need to show us what's on there, and that's all.
I did think it's funny. Your brother's Jets they got on a lot this year. The primetime, they got on a lot.
They're banking on Rodgers not getting hurt. They were like, "Fuck, we missed out on a lot of money last year. Thank God that we convinced Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift to start dating. But who knows how much longer we can get them to coexist? We need Aaron Rodgers to play, and he's going to be in all the primetime slots. So if the Jets suck again, that's going to be amazing for everybody else."
Did you find it funny when the guy was like, the Jets owe us one? I thought it was funny that the league would say something like that, we owe you one. That felt like a wrestling, they owe us one. They get their butt on there the first 6 weeks, and they better be healthy.
Roger Goodell's going to come out in the third quarter with a steel chair and just hit. Who are they playing? Who are they playing Monday night?
Niners.
He's going to come out and hit Brock Purdy in the back of the head with a steel chair on the sideline.
Brian said he passed out. might be in here a little bit. We'll see how that happens. He'll be on here. Yeah, his Niners. I was like, come on, you're my schedule guy. You're the guy. You got to get on with me. You're Mr. Schedule.
Schedule guy. That's super on brand for the main man, Brian Johnson. There,
it is very John Clayton. Shout out, rest in peace. There we got that.
John Clayton.
You remember
that was my favorite ESPN commercial where they showed him in his parents' bedroom, like with the long ass ponytail. That was my favorite.
He's like out there like rocking it. Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, I got something like Nick said on the ticker at the bottom. I have some of the NFL games. You get the Chiefs and Bills week 3. You play the Chiefs early on. That's a big game. At least when you look at it, right? That's probably the game that stood out to you, I'm assuming.
I'm interested for all of the games. I'm interested to make sure that we have our big-time quarterback that can make it all the way through a season. I'm interested to see what our big offensive line is able to do around him. I made the mistake of coming in with expectations last year. I'm not going to do that again. I think that they're still going to be good, but they have to prove it now. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Brian?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, we're
Sorry
talking
about that.
That's all right. Fine. Was that a $500 fine, Jimmy? Usually in football terms, if you're
if you're late, well, it depends. If you're
I guess I owe you $500 then.
50 push-ups.
I guess if Minnesota beats Denver, then we could say the bet's gone.
The Minnesota beats Denver. And we were talking schedule. Does Jets Niners mean anything to you, or is it? What does the schedule release mean to you? I feel like for you, it's always meant a little bit more.
Yeah, true? I've always been a big football guy, and it just gets me excited for the season. And I don't know
Can we watch UFL football to get excited for the season? We can watch UFL football instead of the schedule release.
I love it. Go ahead, Johnson. I cut you off. Go ahead, please.
I don't know. It gets you excited. You know, I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing like the NFL compared to any other sport. Maybe the off season's longer. It takes forever to get to the season, but there's not. I mean, I don't know. It's just there's something about the NFL that's different than any other sport.
So when you see the schedule release, what's I told Jimmy the one thing I look for is like the prime time games, just for boredom. I want to make sure these are the games, especially now we're doing the show Sunday night. That's actually the games I look for. It's like, what are the Sunday night games that we're going to be doing live? Like, that's what I kind of look for. But so what's your first thing when you look for?
Just basically the big time games. Like, I know we play the Chiefs on Fox. That's a big time game. And then I don't know. I don't consider the Jets a big time game because I don't consider them a threat at all.
You came on after I said because the NFL came out. Daren said the NFL came out and the Jets owe them one. So Roger Goodell's going to have a steel chair in the third quarter waiting for Brock Purdy when he comes off the sideline, just bash him in the knee. Boom!
They're out right now.
No chance.
But let's be honest. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one hit from being in a retirement home at this point. So,
that's why they put him on week 1.
You can't do edibles in the retirement home. They frown upon that. So he's going to do what he can to make sure that he continues to play. He needs to chew on his plant roots. He needs an ayahuasca.
He's going to have the bear coming after him, Nick Bosa.
What did you call him?
The bear.
The bear.
Is that an approved? Because he's one of my few Italian brethren that is in the. Is that an approved nickname, or is that something that you're giving him on the spot?
I thought they've always called him the bear.
I don't watch enough Nick Bosa to.
Jimmy, we need to take this with a grain of salt. I don't know where I'm not going to go to the bank. Brian, how's that face? This could be a Johnson special. I don't know if I trust that one.
I mean,
I know when he signed that contract right before the season, they said the Bears coming off the plane.
It just doesn't make sense to me because he's not that. I mean, he's yoked, but he's not big. He looks more like a jaguar or a panther than a bear. A hairless gorilla, a hairless chimp, all of these things. Yeah, that's what he looks like. He doesn't look like a bear. Bears are fat. Vince Wilfork was a bear. That would have made more sense.
Oh my! Remember that one? What was that one? What was that show? What's the show they do in the offseason on HBO?
Hard Knocks.
Yeah, he's like one that's always in the top 10 for wearing the cowboy outfit. But then I remember him being famous in that thing for like kicking field goals from like 45, like a 42-yarder in that show too. So that was like that was always my biggest surprise. I was like, Big Vince from 42 yards. I was like, can't believe it. that it made it from that far out. They had a couple questions on ESPN this week on one of the articles. I thought was kind of funny. I thought a good spot to put it on was, will the Jets be in first place by the time they get to week 12, their week 12 bye? So we were just speaking on the Jets. That's a long time for your first bye. Rodgers was out last year. This is just hypothetical stuff. We're just throwing it out, having fun here. What do you think of like something like that, Brian?
There's no way. I mean, there's just teams that are better than them in the division right now.
Like the Patriots.
The Dolphins and the Bills, I would say, are more quality teams. I kind of agree.
Had one of the worst off seasons, as I heard. That was the report. That was the report, Johnson.
Just the way they put together that offense, I just don't see them doing anything. Even if Aaron Rodgers is in there, they're exactly the same team he left Green Bay, and they had issues making the playoffs when he was on Green Bay, right before he left to go to the Jets.
What an arm! Jimmy, help us. We need help with this.
The Jets they can be scary because I don't think that division's very good anymore. I don't think the Bills they got worse. Woo. I don't think anybody else necessarily got better. So I feel like it's a 3-team race to see who's going to end up on that division. And I don't trust Miami down the stretch of the season. So I think it's a toss-up, and I do think that the Jets have a chance. But that division to me is going to be the AFC South from this year, where everybody's close to or at 500 and nobody's really running away with the division. So everybody's still in the hunt. I don't think anybody from that division is going to be very good.
They go Jets. They go at Niners, at Titans, Patriots, Broncos, Vikings. That's their first 5 games. So they actually got 3 straight games after those.
Do we want to talk about what Plexico Burris said yesterday when he said that the Patriots drafted the wrong guy?
We're listening to Plexico Burris now. He's giving advice. This is like hiring Mike Vick to be your dog sitter. I'm not going to Plexico Burris for life advice.
Mike Vick to be your dog sitter. Oh my god. We're going. I love it. Talking the Gridiron offseason. Aaron, his Rangers advanced to the.
I hope Nico's not watching this one. He might be just because of his nervous energy. I got a surprise for him tomorrow night. It sucks because Dante DiVincenzo didn't allow for it to continue. No. I was going full New York after the Colorado teams didn't move on. So I was all in on the blue shirts now that my Avs are done. And depending on what happens tonight, I might just be out on basketball altogether.
Come on, Jimmy. We need a whole uproot for the Nuggets just so you stay a little bit more in spring fever here. You go. It helps the double rating.
Spring fever passed a long time ago.
I hear you on that one. I hear you. Aaron tuned it in there with it. 5 snaps. The first 5 running plays, he's done. They're all handoffs.
Oh, no, I was going to say, didn't he get hurt on a play where it was a fake handoff that he got hurt on last year?
He did. So the Jets are kind of interesting with it. They have the Thursday night game, which is Ravens at Chiefs, which is your NBC game. And then they got, Brian, a new one Friday, Green Bay at Philadelphia on Peacock streaming services there. The Friday night, we got a little Friday Night Lights. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's that, man, they're just trying to get every market they can get in the NFL. Man, it's crazy. I think they were showing how much it would cost to stream every game, and it was around $900 or something.
I guess they have a game on Earth Day now. No, I'm just kidding. Then they got
but this was just a preseason. Now we're into the pre-regular season, and then we'll have the postseason and the post-regular season. And then we're going to just make sure that football never ends. We're always making money. Roger Goodell needs a new boat. I need a new boat.
Jimmy, you don't like these Thursday night games, right?
I mean, I think that it's ridiculous if you're going to say that you're for player safety, but then continue to push all the midweek games. I feel like it's a little bit of a dichotomy. So choose one or the other. I don't hate them. Like, obviously, everybody's still going to watch. I don't necessarily like them moving on to Fridays because the whole idea is, like, Friday and Saturday are for the other levels of football. The NFL has Sunday, Monday, sometimes Tuesday, Thursday. Like, let's save some time in the calendar, save some time in the week for the kids that are watching these guys play because guess what? If you have NFL games on Friday nights, you're not getting those guys watching. They're playing in their own games.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think that it's a mistake. It's the same mistake that NBC made when they put on Friday night. It's in the title. But if you're going to make a show called Friday Night Lights, you probably don't want it on Friday night at 7 p.m. Because guess where all the people that want to watch that show are? At a football game, watching Friday Night Lights. So I think that's going to be a mistake. Now, it's not going to be a mistake because they're not going to do anything about it. Like, it's not going to affect a wholesale change. But I do feel bad for, like, the high school kids. That's supposed to be their day.
Jordan, what's up here? We're just kind of talk a little bit NFL schedule release here. You got Jimmy Pilato here far into the bench, Brian Johnson, Jordan Max here, Variety Sports Network, Talking the Gridiron here. Be sure to find us on the Twitter as well out there, X, whatever you call it. Hey, the other schedule thing on Jimmy, I was going to say, I know like Jordan chiming on this well, is this is not like a team thing. It's like, I didn't like it last year either. It's like, what do we do? I think it's week 3. You guys are actually involved in it. The Bengals. They got the Monday night game. 2 of them. They got Jacksonville at Buffalo at 4:30, and then they got Washington at Cincinnati at 5:15. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why are we playing these games at the same time when we can avoid this? Like, I don't know.
The NFL needs to put something on with its product that could possibly push them for ratings.
Oh my gosh! What ratings are we getting? I can't pick, but I can't watch both games. I don't get it.
The only way you could possibly do it is if you had YouTube TV and then you could watch 2 games at the same time.
Don't rub it in my face. I don't have YouTube TV right now. Jordan, what are you making something like that? We're just having fun here. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you guys. I think it's pretty idiotic. I hate because you'll be watching your game and then they'll on ESPN and they'll interrupt it with highlights in the middle of the ABC game, and they won't even do like a real split screen. So it's just I think it takes away from the game as a viewer.
Absolutely, I just don't understand it all. That's like one of the things I'm looking at. I'm like, why are you having one team compete against the other when you could just? All right, that's the one money thing I don't understand yet. So help me out, business people. We have anybody out here in the chat? Help me out with what I'm missing.
I just read a business planning book. That's not a solid business model.
It's got to be commercial money, right? It's got to be advertisements. Yeah. We can do double average. We can do 4 hours of advertisement. And 8 hours. 8 hours of advertisement and 4 hours. If we do 2 games at one time. Like, I don't know.
And they do it for 2 straight weeks, week 3 and week 4. So they're going back to back with this strategy to probably, I guess, see how it goes. And then I
mean, they're going to have a game on the craziest shopping day of the year, but aren't they going to have a Black Friday?
Is that the one? Is that the SpongeBob SquarePants game? Is that the one where they do
something like that?
That was the SpongeBob game last year. Yeah.
Last
year. I feel like the NFL sets out at the beginning of each week.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this
making sure nobody else is talking as I'm going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No. I think my Wi-Fi was going in and out. I just feel like the NFL has a certain number of games. Like once they hit this certain number of games, everything else is gravy. So maybe that's why they're doubling up on the Monday night games, because they're like, oh well, we've hit 14 games, which is the optimal level of content. Everything else over this is gravy. Why waste another day of the week calendar? Let's just put 2 here and double the revenue, because you get 2 channels worth of commercials. So.
Yeah. And I looked it up. They do it again in week 8. So they do it more than twice. They do it a few times on there on the schedule. So just some oddities that kind of, I guess, when you do look at it, we're obviously, now that we do talk, like we're on Sunday nights. I was telling Jimmy Jordan, I do look at the Sunday night games where we're ahead. Chiefs at Falcons. We got to get our guys on for that one. Maybe we have some stuff. They got some stuff looking ahead there. So we were talking Jets where they have 12 wins. The other one I had on here was Saquon Barkley will lead the Eagles to the playoffs by running all over his old team. Well, is Saquon Barkley the difference for the Eagles? That's kind of one of our things. We're just having fun here with it. But that kind of, Brian, is Saquon the difference for Philadelphia? You're the team that you're probably worried about them the most, maybe.
I think my biggest question mark on that team is Jalen Hurts. I just don't know. I've heard some things that people are having an issue with him in the locker room, and I just don't know if he's the guy anymore.
I don't know. Kelsey left. Maybe that could be the question, right? Jimmy, what do you think?
It's the coaching for me, because when Steichen and Ben Johnson left, then they had nothing. So I think that they need to figure out their coaching way more than they need to figure anything out on the field. I think Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley can be successful, but you have to have a coach and a system in place that can put them in position to be successful. That was not last year. You tried to make Jalen Hurts Tom Brady 2.0, and he's not a pocket passer. You got to put him in a mobile area. You got to be able to use his strengths. Saquon should bring that out of him, but unless the offensive coordinator is willing to accept that, I don't have faith in the Eagles, not based on anybody on the team, but based on their coaching.
We were ripping on their coaching at the end. So I'm like, okay, that was like one of the last episodes we did was like, it was not, well, like of last season was we were all like, the coach, we have a huge question, right, Jordan? Like, so even with Barkley there, maybe he adds a leadership that maybe sometimes that happens where you have enough talent where it kind of hides the coach a little bit, but I don't know if that's the case yet in Philadelphia.
I think the biggest question is, does this hurt Barkley's fantasy just because when you work with a running quarterback, you know, your stats will take a hit, right?
What do you think, Jordan? Go ahead there.
I'll start at the top. It was most certainly coaching that fell this team apart last year, and also kind of if you look at the acquisitions they made, like getting Kevin Byard from Tennessee. And they kind of loaded up the locker room with a lot of guys that were used to being the alpha male. So I almost think it was too many Chiefs and not enough Indians kind of towards the end of the season. And when you add losing on top of that, that locker room just exploded because it was like week by week it was somebody new at the podium just kind of ripping at each other. And when Jalen Hurts got in on that action. The team was pretty much done because Kelsey even declined interviews kind of towards the end of the season, so he didn't want to speak on the animosity that was going on in the locker room. But to clear,
do you think Kelsey could come back? I feel like there's a world like in week 6 he comes back. If they're right, you guys think he's done?
I think he's done. You look how much enjoyment he is in retirement. You know, he's popping up at WrestleMania.
That's right, he was there.
Stoutland wouldn't do that to him. I feel like his offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland, and I have a lot of respect for that guy. I was lucky enough, our youth team went out to the University of Miami when he was the offensive line coach there. He came out, watched us scrimmage. He ripped my ass at our practice and then watched us in the scrimmage, and I did what he had ripped my ass for, so he was praising me at the end. That's why I love Stout, but he's a guy, he probably had a lot of conversations with Jason, like, not going to lie to you, tape ain't great. I know that you're awesome. You're amazing. You've been the most athletic center and been able to do all these great things, but it doesn't look good this year. So I feel like if whatever this season ends up being, I feel like Jeff Stoutland probably is a big reason why Jason Kelsey made the decision not to play anymore. I don't think that he's coming back because he just can't do what he did at that level for so long.
WrestleMania took it out of him, Johnson. He had a chance. That was the final blow. He put his final effort into there. Ryan, the Falcons. Is this the year? Did they do it? They got Kirk. Is he getting the job done? The Falcons.
Yeah. Where's the Falcons guy on here? I mean, they had the biggest offseason equation, getting Kirk Cousins, and then they had the biggest drama, right? And then they had the biggest head scratching first round pick taking Penix. I mean, I don't know what they were doing with that, but
what did you call him? No, we got him on the
FCC.
We got the lefty on there. You're right, Brian. You have a little water sound to you, so if I mute you, it's only because of that. But stay on. I'll just get you when you talk on there. Okay, so don't leave or anything like that. So what do you guys think about with the Falcons there? Brian brought up that was funny with that. I'm kind of in agreement there with you, Brian, that the Falcons, that they could be the favorite because they just need. I felt like that we all said it. They had the most talent. They get a quarterback, but is Cousins enough? Jimmy, do you think Cousins now is this difference? And then like they have this draft that me and you on draft night were like, that was our greatest content with that. And then we have some other things. So what did you think of kind of that thought?
I mean, it's a situation where you were thinking things were going to go one way, and when the opportunity presented itself, you did take advantage of it. If you're truly that dead set on things, hopefully that organization is going to give – I don't think that they gave Desmond Ridder that great of a chance the entire time that he was there. So if you're that dead set on this guy being possibly your future at quarterback, not that you want him to beat the guy that you're putting a lot of money into, But Kirk is coming off of an Achilles. And I think right now the earliest date that he'd be able to start practicing is late August. And Jordan and I will tell you, when your quarterback doesn't get that many reps in training camp and preseason and practice, is not a good thing. It ain't great. And Atlanta's offensive line isn't great. It's like, I feel like Arthur Smith will be able to mitigate a lot of those factors because Bijan and that Tyler Algiers guy, who I think he might still be there, but they're going to lean on their run game. They're going to try and make sure that their quarterback is not going to be too big of a factor in anything. But I am a little – it's still strange. Like, I can see the strategy behind it, but if that is truly the case, like if you were thinking about doing this, you should have told Kirk, hey, if Michael Penix or if one of these quarterbacks, we really like all of these quarterbacks. I don't know which one to take, but if one of them falls to us at 8, we're probably going to draft him with the understanding that you guys will have a competition. You're so much better than he is that you beat him out in the competition, and then we see how the season goes. I feel like that should have been the conversation Falcons had, and that obviously wasn't had because Kirk Cousins has come out and said he had zero idea, was totally blindsided by the entire thing.
He was really shocked by it. He was that was the thing that I kind of thought was like the funniest thing about it was he had that with him. What did you guys make this? Jordan, healthy Burrow. Get your Bengals back up to the top this year. Is that the key? You guys get them back up top this year.
It's definitely the key. A healthy Burrow goes a long way, but the offensive line, we brought in 2 monster mountain of men.
The Great Wall of Cincinnati.
One who has some Super Bowl ring and deep playoff experience. One that's only 8 starts at Georgia. It's a little questionable, but I wasn't happy with the pick. So I think it all starts for us. The defensive line, I'm a little bit worried. We'll see what the post-reader era kind of looks like. We didn't get any real 3 technique, but I was kind of happy with via draft or free agency. So I still think we're kind of having a hole there. We haven't really had one since Larry Ogunjobi's departure via injury and free agency. So there's 2 kind of big question mark there, but it all starts with Joe Burrow. So a healthy Joe Burrow is awesome. It kind of some of the offseason drama that we have done with Higgins. So I'm happy with it. I think we're primed. I think we're ready. It's still a tough division. You look around the AFC North, every team last year finished above 500, so we got to keep that in the back of our mind. But I'm ready to rock it. What about you, Jay? What's on your mind?
Nothing's on my mind, but I just want everything to work out this time. I don't want anything to go poorly. I need something to go well because my sports teams, they either get beat by 40, which is the worst deficit that anybody's been beaten by as in that situation with the Nuggets, or they just can't stay away from whatever Valeri Nichushkin's issue is. And the Bengals have been also kind of a thorn in my side. Like when Burrow is healthy, they are as good as I think they can be. But when he's not healthy, then they're just as bad as they've ever been. So like I'm pleasantly hopeful, but hope is not a strategy. So no. What did we do to actually get better? What are we going to change this year about our preseason, about our offseason program? I will tell you that if our starters do not play any games in the preseason, I will have a meltdown. I will be full Bill Hader from that SNL skit when he's the bleach blonde firefighter. I am having a meltdown, and I will be screaming. I will be on a plane to Cincinnati, and I will go find Zach Taylor and give him a piece of my mind. I was going to say something different, but I forgot. I'm still a teacher for 4 more days. So.
You saw that, Brian. What do you think? What do you think of the Bengals here? You're obviously that's kind of one of your teams. What do you think of the Bengals?
I think the biggest sign was what Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. So I think that makes them because now they have a legit running back, somebody that can help that offense even more. I just think, I don't know. I just think you probably have to say the Ravens are the top dog in that division right now after last year.
Ooh, I'm so scared.
I like it. Big Rabbit is Steelers.
Lamar Jackson. Oh no! Oh my God! What are we gonna do?
Brian, what do you think of Caleb Williams? Will he go 4-0 against his fellow rookie quarterbacks? Will he lead the Bears to the playoffs? Is there a chance? Is there any world? Like I said, this is NFL schedule release, so I can say whatever the hell I want. Can he lead the Bears to the playoffs? And it's in some world this year.
I just don't get his hype that he had coming out of USC. I don't know. I don't think he's a world beater. I was really disappointed the way he handled USC, not because they were supposed to go to the playoff and make a run at the title, and they just totally fell apart at the end. And I don't know. I think he's kind of an egomaniac, and I don't know. I don't like those kind of players in the NFL.
Jimmy?
Caleb Williams is he's in a good situation, I think. It's not a situation that you would normally get as a number 1 overall pick.
Game 20 minutes away, buddy. Is it 20 minutes away right now?
They just flipped the broadcast over, so I feel like it's going to be starting here very shortly, like 10 minutes or so.
That's usually what it is. That's why we're on tonight, folks, at this time. Why would we compete against Game 7, 6?
Daren's going to be on with Nico and I afterwards, so you're either going to see a very –
Yeah, I got to at least – I'm hoping it's a win so we can at least have a little fun today.
I want it to be a win also, because if it's not a win, then we just have to have the absolute just dumpster fire of an episode. But it'll also be our last live show for a long time. So
that's true. Hey, at least we'll have some live shows together here, my friend. Then we got that to look forward to.
Yeah.
We talked Bears, though, a lot on draft night. So that was kind of fun when we did mention that with Caleb Williams. Jordan, do you think he's getting overhyped like Brian said?
I don't buy into that he's being overhyped as a talent. He carries kind of a mystique about him that he is kind of full of himself. His actions were about him and his brand only, and that's not what you necessarily want to see from a rookie. But this is the new this is the new business. You look at the way college is run, NIL. It's almost like a free agency, almost like an NFL type deal. So I wasn't as shocked to see him kind of be egotistical. But USC had bigger problems than their offense. Their offense was great in a lot of aspects. Defense was absolutely atrocious, and you can't put that all on a college quarterback. So I think he's coming into probably the best situation. I think the Bears had a out of the park offseason. They got wide receiver figured out. They've got running back figured out. They filled some defensive holes. Their secondary is still kind of a question mark, but as an offensive unit, he's coming into a much upgraded offense. He's coming into a great running back scenario and an unbelievable wide receiver cast. So I think he's going to make some noise. The NFC North is still Detroit's to lose, in my opinion. They did the most improvements.
Lions are getting talked up a ton this time. I feel like I'm getting golf articles every day. I'm like, what's going on with these golf updates every day? I'm like,
pressure's going to get too much. They're going to fall back down.
Even already done. You think they're too much pressure?
Well, go ahead, Jimmy.
I think that the teams that have never had pressure before struggle with dealing with it for the first time in a long time. Because look at the Bengals the season after they went to the Super Bowl. Like when you had expectations for that first time in a long time, forever. Let's remember that forever since the 1980s and 70s and 60s when Paul Brown was on the goddamn sidelines and not just the namesake on the stadium. It's been a long time. So when you now have expectations to do well again, that's scary. And these guys have never dealt with it. And Jared Goff has never had. I mean, when he had expectations, remember what he did? Yeah. It was on that Amazon series that they like to do they started at his rookie season. It wasn't good. Wasn't pretty. So I'm nervous for the Lions, if I'm being honest.
Brian, what do you make of the Lions there?
I think they're the biggest threat in the NFC to us. I don't think the Falcons are.
Well, hold on. What is us? You're not a player for a team. So what's us? Remind everybody. Ryan Johnson, a linebacker for who? Again, remind me who you're in.
I mean, they had a chance to beat us, and they choked that game away. And that's the championship.
Mr. Campbell, he blew it there for that. What's the nickname he's getting? Johnson with Mr. Poker Campbell. Now, I'll be curious this year. That's one of the biggest storylines with them going into the year is how does Campbell play the regular season? For me, Jordan, Jimmy, like as we've been doing like every week for 2 years, that's like a storyline going into it. I'm gonna be like, is he willing to gamble? Because the season's going to be different. So we'll see how he plays it out with it. Obviously, we do have Game 7 coming on here a little bit. Jimmy,
no, it's on, Daren, because there's been 4 blocks. There's been a block at both ends, back to back to back. Gobert got blocked by Porter Jr. On the other end, he came back and blocked Porter Jr. It's on already. The boys are playing.
Brian, what's your favorite basketball team?
Oh!
What team did you root for? Brian used to be a Lakers fan, believe it or not, right back in the day. Right? That was. Brian was at my house one time. No doubt, it was that Horry 3 against the Kings, and Horry hits it, and he ran around like a. And I remember sitting there sick to my stomach, like this kind of a guy.
LeBron James just ruined the Lakers for me.
No, you and Terrell need to get on a show together. You guys need to talk about that for sure. All right, last few things here. We'll get out of here on a Sunday night, guys. It's good to be back together. Like Jimmy, I like that you said it in the tweet or in our text message. You're like, all right, we got to get back together just to kind of get it going. It's a good idea. We need to keep this going. The consistency of it, the rhythm of it. Everybody says there's nothing to talk about NFL. I go, it's NFL. We can talk about anything. It's just me, Jimmy, and Jordan. We can do whatever we want. Brian, it's good to have you back on. I know you had the schedule with the mail thing. You got to do a job there. It's fun to have you on. Hopefully you'll be able to join us a little bit more often, especially off season, as we shoot the you-know-what about anything, even some wrestling. Brian, we got into that a lot last week, so be sure we might tune into that again. All right, do's and don'ts here with it. Should the Jaguars still pay Lawrence big? Jimmy, is he worth the money? Is Lawrence worth it?
It's going to depend on what the next class of quarterback looks like. So do you find anybody that you love more than this current quarterback that you have? Did they already pick up the option? Because I know that it says he's a first-round pick. The team has a little bit more time to decide whether or not they need to pay him big.
Well, they have a little time, but I'm just saying, based on it, would you right now?
I would say that I would pick up his 5th-year option so that I know I have him for a few more years, and then see where either he develops into a guy that you're comfortable paying a quarterback contract, or hopefully in a few years you know what guy you're going to target in the draft and start this whole thing over again. He has not done enough for me. In fact, he's probably hurt himself in this last season. 2 years ago, I would say earned his money a little bit more. Last season was a down year. Who are you really? Like, show me who you are as an NFL quarterback. Are you Gardner Minshew? Are you Peyton Manning? Because right now you're playing like both at different times in your career. So I don't think that he's earned his big contract yet, but I do think that he's earned at least that 5th-year option where you can see him for as long as possible and then make that decision. Like Trevor Lawrence not earning a contract, I would still say that he's playing better and is a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones. So I feel like if you pay him, then you're putting yourself in that same situation the Giants are in right now with their quarterback.
I'm just wondering if he's like worth that big. I don't know, like that big. Johnson, what do you think? Would you pay Lawrence?
I don't know. They brought the noodle arm in, so I'd be scared if I were him.
Mac Jones is the back. What did you pay Lawrence?
I mean,
go ahead.
It's like he said. If you right now he's the best you got. So I mean, you just have to. I think you can play out this year, just see how the year goes, and go from there.
There is that part of that.
I would judge it off probably the first 6 to 8 games this season. You hit, his 1 year under Urban Meyer. We can kind of put an asterisk mark next to it. That team was a disaster. From as much as I love Urban, that team was a disaster. From
how can you say that with a straight face, Jordan? You're such a good person. You yourself are such a good person. How can you back that?
Winning the first ever college playoff title. It sticks with you.
That gives you the right to finger bang.
I don't.
As a married man, I'm just saying, like,
off-season version, baby. Off-season version. That's where we're at.
Hey, I'm judging solely off coaching, not as a person.
So the murderers that he kept on the team.
Jimmy going hard tonight. Jimmy going hard.
I can't have any pro Urban Meyer. I have to slander his name.
Well, he did say he was not a good coach for at least a year.
Yeah, no, I get that. But then he said he loves him still, and I like Jordan too much. We got to get him out of this. This is basically an intervention now on the fly.
We'll schedule my intervention this week. I'll examine the evidence. I'll hear your case.
I have no other case than I hated him because he always beat my teams.
I'll come in on far into the bench and we'll render the verdict. How's that?
That sounds good.
That was funny. So yeah, I feel like I just feel like he's one of those guys where you're paying them and you're like Brian said it best. Like in some ways, like he's the best you got. Like that's kind of what it comes down to. It's he's the best you got.
But should he have done more with Calvin Ridley last season?
Yeah.
He wasn't good last year.
Was he injured?
I don't know.
Because that organization would definitely have a history of like not being able to help players get back from injury. Nothing like comes to mind specifically, but it's just the Jacksonville Jaguars. There are certain organizations that you think about and go first class. There's certain organizations you think about and go, I hope that I don't ever get sick here. Because if I get sick here, I'm basically going to a Kaiser Permanente hospital, and that's the care is just not going to be up to the same level.
Kaiser Permanente.
I know it's different depending on where you are, but here Kaiser is the one that everybody gets.
Here.
This is that's the cheap one out here in Colorado that the doctor for your physical, he basically asks you all the questions like, is your heart okay? Yeah? Okay, cool. Are you breathing? Okay, I heard you breathe. Good.
God,
15 minutes in and out, done.
Hey, take some Motrin, change your socks, drink some water. You'll be all right.
Here, take a couple of these aspirin.
Brian was a Kaiser Permanente. We know business. I had a couple things here to do. Netflix.
Kaiser Permanente.
Yeah, we do know that very well. I had Netflix. They inked a 3-year deal with the NFL. They get the Christmas Day games. Found that a little bit interesting. I don't want to we'll get to this more maybe next time we do it because I want to spend more time. Rod Smith, does he deserve serious consideration for the Hall of Fame? I believe he does. I feel like he was a killer as a receiver.
2-time Super Bowl champion.
He murdered my Raiders. So I feel like he definitely deserves part of it. Guys, this is what I want to get to. Brian, I'm going to get to you first on it. Age yourself by naming an NFL player from your childhood and see if anybody they can get these. James Jet Brian Johnson. I know you remember that name out here. He was your track star that Al Davis signed because he could run a 4.240. You got a player that would be a random player that we can think of?
Yeah, I'm going to go Brandon Lloyd. He had the best hands out of any Niners receiver I've ever seen.
Brandon Lloyd. That's a good one. Jordan, Jenny, you guys remember that name by chance out of Illinois?
I remember Brandon Lloyd. He played on the Broncos.
Yeah. Jordan, you remember that?
I remember Brandon Lloyd.
Well, he's famous for that one catch. I don't know what to get. He's like going down the middle, I feel like. Brian, what's the catch? Like, is he like he catch it behind somebody on their helmet? What is it? I forget.
Yeah, it was even coming from a terrible quarterback, Cody Pickett. I mean,
that's why it was such a bad throw. He was able to make a spectacular catch. Hey, don't underestimate the value of a bad quarterback. Those are the reasons that they can come in handy right there. Jordan, you got one?
I say Dahani Jones, linebacker.
Ah, I like that one.
I remember him from the commercial, but I don't actually remember him ever playing.
Really?
Yeah, I never actually saw him on the field.
He was brought back. Him and Chris Crocker were brought back twice under the Marvin Lewis.
That's a great call right there, John. I haven't heard that one in a while right there. Jimmy, you got one, baby?
Jake the Snake Plummer. That was the Broncos quarterback when I first understood what I was watching as football.
Jake the Snake Johnson. Yes. The Arizona Cardinals, Arizona State.
You bring the flags. Remember, he was one of my friends. Used to call him Jake the Snake.
Yeah, he was one of them right there. Jake the Snake. The rollout right. That was
he did get the Broncos to an AFC championship against the Steelers. That's what people don't. That was almost Shanahan's third Super Bowl. That would have been something. Because by the way, I can't remember if he got inducted yet or not, but Shanahan deserves to be in the Hall of Fame as an NFL head coach before Rod Smith deserves to get in as a player.
Will his son get in before him?
If Roger Goodell has its way, apparently.
Roger. Good old Roger out there. Brian's not a fan of that one at all. All right, hey, here's my last thing. We'll get out of here. We'll get some big Game 7 basketball here. Hey, who am I trivia? I'm going to get these guys a little trivia here for now. I feel like this is one that they could get here. Hit number 1. I played for 5 NFL teams from 2006 to 2016. I ended my career with the Buffalo Bills. I'm trying to. So any random guess that you guys have there with that team there, Johnson? Anyone there? No, would you hit number 2? We'll hit number 2 here. I was the second overall pick.
Ty Law.
Was it McCoy?
Not McCoy. I was the second overall pick in 2006, and I won a Super Bowl beating the Colts.
In that same year?
No,
because the Colts won it in 06. So it would have had to been in 09 with the Saints. Reggie Bush.
Brian, do you concur? Or do you think it's somebody else?
It's probably somebody else, actually, because I don't remember Reggie Bush in Buffalo.
What do you think, Brian? You going Reggie?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Reggie Bush.
Jordan, you going Reggie?
I can't remember if Mario was honest.
Was he on the Saints team that would have beat the Colts? Because the Colts were only in the Super Bowl and lost in that 09 year against the Saints. So that's why this is getting easier, because they only have one time that they've actually lost the Super Bowl in that.
I'll make it even easier for.
Yes, I was right.
It was Reggie Bush. Well done, Mr. Pilato.
I know absolutely way too much about this goddamn sport.
You do know what. And here's some of his highlights in college up on this.
He played in Buffalo?
Yeah, he
was a freak in college. He was a freak in college. Remember how good, how hyped he was? You guys remember that? Just everything about him. He touched the football. You're like, oh, this guy. He's a not miss. And he's still out of
Kim Kardashian dated him after the sex tape.
That's it. Yeah, she was willing to do that.
Married him after the sex tape, actually.
Do you guys think he's the best? I don't know how to look at his college career, because NFL career didn't quite live up to obviously how you thought his NFL career was. But this run in particular is this is the best one of them all. I remember watching this live. I used to love it, Brian. You know it. They'd have the Pac-12 West Coast game starting at 8:00 out here. And I remember me and my dad watching that at about 10:30 at night at Pacific time. That the one versus Fresno State. Jordan, Jimmy, Brian, this guy, Jimmy, you probably how old were you? 2006. How old would you have been?
2006. I was 9. This was the heyday of college football. I was a USC fan for the years that they had Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. Because also they had Landale White, who was from Denver. But yeah, this was my sweet spot. I remember being very upset after that Rose Bowl game against Texas, because I was one of the few people not impressed by Vince Young that year. I wanted Reggie to win. I wanted USC to win that one again. It would have been cool. But yeah, no, this is – I remember coming home from wrestling practice after getting absolute tar beat out of me as a little 9-year-old kid and just throwing on the national championship, watching Reggie Bush do work.
He was a beast that year. Jordan, the same thoughts for Reggie? He was unreal those days, man.
Oh, I was in high school during this, so Reggie Bush was that he's the only player that you wanted to put on your team in NCAA. When he imported him in Madden, you always went to the fantasy draft to make sure you got him. Reggie Bush was that was an unbelievable talent, and I'd say early in his career he kind of lived up to some of the being the slippery, the moves, the spin moves. He just was it Ed Reed. Ed Reed hit him so hard he crawled back to the sidelines. Ear.
I remember that one he had versus the Eagles in the playoffs. It was some little
Brian Dawkins. That's got to be who that was. Brian Dawkins probably absolutely decapitated him, because Brian Dawkins decapitated a lot of people.
And then his time in Miami, he got better. 1,000 yards for Miami. So yeah, I think
Brian, any last thoughts on Reggie?
I was not a USC fan. I was more of a Bay Area fan back then. So I remember I voted for when Rodgers was on Cal. I wanted him to beat USC.
Oh, definitely. I remember the year they beat Palmer when they were number 1. That's when Cal football actually. Now it's terrible. But so it is. Maybe one day again we'll be able to root for
Cal has a football team.
Exactly. It's been a while. They were actually ranked number 1. It's like hard to believe they were for one point there back in the day.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe.
What's the old Ron Burgundy? I don't believe you.
I don't believe you with it.
We're on air? Really?
We're on
I don't believe you.
Hey, you know what else I don't believe? It's time to get off the air today. We've already been on for almost an hour.
T-Wolves are up by 3, just so everybody knows. So I'm stressed already.
Brian Johnson, been a while. Long, my friend. I hope we can get you on Talking the Gridiron here again soon. Thanks for taking a little time. I know your work schedule is a little bit more available, so hopefully you'll be able to jump on some of the off-season shows here.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely enjoy talking football with you guys. So.
All right, Brian. We'll see you on the next one, my friend. Thank you, sir. And Jordan, been a while, my friend. Thank you for it's kind of nice that we kind of get Jimmy. I like the way you said in the text was perfect. Like, hey, we're able to kind of let's get together here. We'll be able to do a little StreamYard, talk a little football here with it, get it out there. It's good. It kind of keeps us fresh going on it. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. That's what you're gonna get on our show. I feel like we bring a little knowledge with it, but we're also trying to bring a little entertainment, a different side of it. So hopefully you guys get that.
Nico's heard all my jokes. You guys are the only ones that I can get to actually laugh. Like
exactly.
Nico doesn't even get surprised anymore, and I feel bad because we've done so many shows that I do some stupid shit or like say some stupid voice, and he does it. It's just blows right past, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's known me since I was 12. That's not funny to him anymore. It's funny to you guys because you guys don't know me as well.
We don't know you as well in those regards. So I guess we're used to Mr. Pilato. We're not used to Mr. Pilato's humor yet. So is that what they call you, Mr. Pilato? I'm assuming is that the name of it?
Yeah, if they can pronounce it, Mr. P most likely. Mr. Shu, because that's the teacher that's next to me, and they can't handle having 2 male teachers, so they just apparently he gets called Mr. Pilato, which he does not look Italian at all. I at least look like a Guido when I go to school. By the way, I don't know if you were aware, but this is now a show of 3 teachers. So just like we were trying to do last summer with summer camp, this is now a show of 3 teachers as well.
There we go. We like it. We got 3 teachers here in the building doing Talking the Gridiron, Variety Sports Network. We'll probably do a show here. I'll probably take next week off on Memorial Day there with it. Shout out to all the soldiers out there doing all the dirty work for us out there overseas. Jordan,
much tougher and much more important than we are. That's for sure.
Yeah, a little bit more than us, but hopefully we can get on here again. Maybe every couple weeks, 3 weeks. That's kind of our goal. Talk a little sports here with it, talk a little football, keep you engaged. And then, of course, we'll be with you every week during the season like we were last week. With it, Brian Johnson, thanks again for jumping on. Always fun to get with it. Guys, any final thoughts here on a football season here as we get into Nuggets, T-Wolves, a little basketball here? Jimmy, any final thoughts here?
I'm really hoping that I don't have to start finding NFL content and that the content is just based on the teams continuing to move on. Go Rangers, go Nuggets. Tune in later tonight. Daren will be on for at least a little bit of our post-game show, and I'm going to try and talk Jordan into coming on. I know it's a lot later for him as well, so if he can't, that's fine. As we stand now, 17-16, a minute 50 left in the first quarter. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row at home in a playoff series, so I'm banking on that. I hate that I love that. I hate that I'm this invested in basketball. This feels so sick and disgusting to me, but here we are.
There we are with it. Hey, hockey there. You got tomorrow, Vancouver, Edmonton. You can enjoy. Jordan, you got the final thoughts here before we get an outro here, sir.
Hey, Jimmy, the Cavs fans are ready for you. I'll get the couch ready for you. You can sit down right next to me if they lose. We'll wipe your tears up. It'll be all right.
Boys,
you guys did LeBron show up to your game, right?
Hey, next
that was
time
cool.
we do
that was awesome.
Next time we do this, I want your top 5 movies. We're gonna do a little fun with it.
Oh.
Your boy Doug did a little thing, so bring a little conversation. We'll have a little fun with it when we do football with it. We're gonna be in the middle of June. Me and Jimmy will be on vacation. We need a little movie talk here during it, so let's go that with it. I want to know any shows you're watching this year, so we'll do that with a little Talk of the Gridiron, little football version. We'll get into some football movies as well. That'll be some stuff. So, guys, think of that a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. That's where keep your head there.
I wonder if anybody knows what's going to be on my list.
Well, I have a feeling that might be on your list. But you got some football.
You can't win.
You can't do with it. So we'll have some fun. We'll let some personality out here on Variety Sports Network, and we'll have a little good time with it. Jimmy, like we said, sometimes it's good to get away from real life, right? So we got to do some stuff like with that. And for real life, that's why we shout out the Memorial Day that we won't be with you next week with the Variety Sports Network. Jimmy Pilato, Jordan Max, and I'm Daren Breyer. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.